Hello, chess fans. Welcome to another edition of Chess Chat, a program brought to you live from the Workers Credit Union Studio A at Fitchburg Access Television. I am your host, George Marajanian, Program Director of the Wachusett Chess Club at Fitchburg State University. This club meets every Wednesday evening from 6:30 to 10:30 in rooms 142 and 143 at the McKay Complex at the university. And with me once again for this episode of Chess Chat is our award-winning director, Darren Dame of Fitchburg, a recipient of FATV's prestigious Boulder Award. He's assisted in the control room and also behind the cameras by fellow resident Brian Bigelow. And sitting across from me is once again my trusty co-host, a chess author, a chess photographer, a chess statistician, a very active chess tournament player, Dave Kuchar of Westminster. Hello, Dave.
Hello, George.
Dave, it's a pleasure always seeing you for Chess Chat.
And you?
And it's mutual, as you say. And we have a lot to report to our viewers.
Big news.
Big news. Chess has been flourishing for the past several months, and it still is. Right now, what's going on in the world is the World Rapid and Blitz Championship being held in Warsaw, Poland. We'll probably be reporting on that in a future Chess Chat. But today's program, we're going to put our emphasis on a program that we had to postpone because of our tribute to New England chess legend John Karo last month on his 90th birthday. We're going to do a report on the U.S. Women's Championship, a full report, but we're going to briefly talk about the U.S. Championship, which was won this year once again by Grandmaster Wesley So. Darren Dame, our director, has a photo of our repeat champion, Wesley So. He's 38 years old. He was born in the Philippines. Here he is, Wesley. He is a four-time U.S. champion. He won this tournament last year when the U.S. Championship was held online. They didn't do it in person. And he also won it actually in 2000. What was the years he won it? 2017, 2020, and 21. He won it 3 times. I'm sorry. He won it 3 times. I thought it was 4 times, but he won it for the first time in 2017. So that was Wesley So, who won this year's U.S. Championship. By the way, he tied for first in the championship with Grandmaster Fabiano Caruana, who won the championship, the U.S. Championship in 2017. And he was not alone in this year's championship. Our own Grandmaster Sam Sevian from Holden, Massachusetts, tied with them, tied with Wesley So and Fabio Caruana. And then they had a playoff. They all scored 6.5 points out of 11 games played, but then they went into a rapid playoff. And that's a faster time control. And So beat both of them to finish it first. And then Caruana beat Sevian to make him come in second, and Sevian finished third. But that's what happened in the U.S. Championship. Now, we're going to tell our viewers what happened in the Women's Championship, because we have a photo of Wesley So, this year's U.S. champion, with the U.S. Women's Champion. And let's show a photo of Carissa Yip, our own Carissa Yip, on the right. Carissa Yip, who won the Wachusett Chess Club Championship. That's like a local connection. She won it at the age of 10 in June of 2014 at the Wachusett Chess Club. With a perfect score.
Perfect score.
Perfect score. Beautiful. So we're going to actually show our viewers who all the participants were in this year's U.S. Women's Championship. And we're going to start actually with a number of players who finished actually tied for 10th through 12th. There were 12 ladies, young ladies, who played in this year's Women's Championship.
Not all young ladies.
No. Well,
some young ladies.
Some very young. Some actually, Carissa was the youngest at 18. She won it. So let's start actually with the person who was tied for 10th through 12th, and that would be a former well, actually, she's from Romania. Let me put my glasses on so I can see what I'm reading here. And this is Francesca. Let's show, Darren will show a photo of Sabina Francesca Feuser. There's Sabina Francesca Feuser. She's 32 years old. She happened to finish with 4 points in this year's tournament.
She won it.
And she won this U.S. Women's Championship in 2017. So here we have a former Women's Championship. Now, tying with her for 10th through 12th was a young player, well, relatively young, 25 years old. This is Women's International Master. Was a young player, well, relatively young, 25. There's Megan. She's from Washington State. And as I say, she's 25. She scored 4 points and tying with Sabina Francesca Feuser. And one other player also finished with 4 points and tied with Megan Lee and Sabina Francesca Feuser. And that was women Grandmaster Anna Sharavich. Let's show a photo of Anna Sharavich. Now, Anna Sharavich is from Belarus, but she's now a resident of the United States. She plays under the American flag, and she was Belarus women's champion in 2002, 2005, 2007, 2011, and she lives actually in Missouri. I think she lives in St. Louis area. Yes, yeah. So that's Anna Sharavich. Now, there were 2 players who tied for 8th and 9th, and one of them happened to be International Master Nazi Paikidze. Nazi Paikidze she won the U.S. Women's Championship in 2016 and 2018. She's 28 years old, and you know what country she's from?
I don't.
Georgia, the country of Georgia. Okay. And she now lives in Nevada, but she, again, is a former U.S. Women's Championship twice, and she finished with 4.5 points, Nazi did. Okay, let's go and see who finished tied with her. And that was International Master Anna Zatonski. There's a photo of Anna Zatonski scoring 4.5 points. She was the oldest at 43. She's 43. Does she look 43?
No.
No, she looks younger than her age. But she was champion. She was actually U.S. Women's Champion actually 4 times. 2006, 2008, 2009, and 2011. And she grew up, was born and raised in Ukraine. She's from the Ukraine, and she's now living in New York State. Yeah. So, okay. Now we have a newcomer to the U.S. Women's Championship, and that is 19-year-old FIDE or FIDE master. She's also a women grandmaster, I'm told. Is Thalia Cervantes Landero? Is that Thalia? Yes. Here he is. Thalia Cervantes Landero, and she was born in Cuba and now lives in the St. Louis area in Missouri. Okay, and she finished clear 7th. She scored 5 points for a 7th place finish. Now there was a 3-way tie for 4th through 6th, and let's show a photo of Women International Master Ashrita Eswaran. Where's the photo? There's Ashrita. Ashrita is 21 years old, and she scored 6 points, and she lives in California. Now, tying with her with 6 points is a woman grandmaster, Katarina Nemtsova. Let's see a photo of Katarina Nemtsova. She's 31 years old, and she is from the Czech Republic, which the former Czechoslovakia, which is now the Czech Republic. And she was Czech Women's Champion in 2008 and 2010, and she lives in Arizona. Okay, now, who do we have left? Tying for that 4th through 6th spot is a very well-known women grandmaster, Tatev Abrahamian. There's Tatev with her purple hair. Is that purple hair? Yeah, she's known for that. And she's 33 years old, and she is from Yerevan, Armenia, the capital of Armenia, Yerevan. And she lives in the city which has the largest population of Armenians in this country. That's Glendale, California. There are well over 100,000 Armenians who live in Glendale, California. The biggest community actually in the Armenian community in the United States.
And we can say that she's come very close to winning a championship twice.
Yes.
I think she tied twice and she lost in the playoff twice.
Exactly.
So-
No, she's a frequent participant
Yeah.
in the U.S. Women's Championship. And again, she tied for 4th through 6th with 6 points. Now, coming in clear 3rd place is no stranger to women's chess in this country, and that's the only female grandmaster in this country, and that's Irina Krush. And actually, she was born in Ukraine, and actually, her name actually should be properly pronounced Krush, but it's been Americanized to Crush because she loves crushing opponents. Yeah, and Irina scored 6.5 points. She's 38 years old, and again, she has won the U.S. Women's Championship 8 times. Do you want to hear the years when she won it? Starting in 1998, in 2007, 2010, 12, 13, 14, 15, and last year, 2020, she held it when it was held. It was online back in 2020, and again, she's from the Ukraine, born in Odessa, Ukraine, and she lives in New York. And again, she's a phenomenal player. I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
And she finished clear 3rd in this year's Women's Championship. Now, coming in clear 2nd place is a totally new player to the U.S. Women's Championship, and that is women grandmaster. And here it goes. Her name is Gulruch Begim Tokhir-Janova. Let's see a photo of Gulruch Begim Tokhir-Janova.
We're going to have to trust you on that pronunciation.
No, trust me, I'm close. My pronunciation is close to what it should be. She scored 7 points out of 11. She's 22 years old, and she's from Uzbekistan. And she was the Uzbekistani women's champion in 2016 and 18, and she lives in St. Louis. Again, so we see a number of these young females living in the St. Louis area because of the St. Louis Chess Club, the premier chess club in the United States.
Right, and a number of male
males also.
grandmasters too.
There are a lot of grandmasters who are living in St. Louis. And let's actually end this with a photo of our Carissa Yip, 18-year-old Carissa Yip, who again scored 8.5 points out of 11. Again, our only Massachusetts player. And again, she is a international master. Her next goal for Carissa Yip is actually to become a grandmaster, just like Irina Krush. Yeah. And if she can attain that, she's on her way for even bigger and better things. And again, we want to see her photo on the box of Wheaties. In fact, our set designer and cameraman, Brian Bigelow, we were talking before the show. We said, you know what? We're going to campaign to see Carissa's face on a box of Wheaties.
I like it.
Yeah, you like that idea?
I like that idea.
Okay, what we're going to present to our Chess Chat viewers is a game that Carissa won in round 4 against Irina Krush. Okay, and she's beaten Irina Krush before in a women's championship, but this year she faced her in round 4, and Carissa had white. And what did Carissa play against Irina in that game in round 4?
It opens with E4.
E4, okay. So in response to E4, Irina plays C6. Now what is this, C6?
Karo Khan.
Karo Khan. Now we've seen this on occasion on Chess Set over the past 15 years. But again, we see more Sicilian defenses.
Sicilian or E5,
Right. And this actually is known, as you say, the Karo Khan defense. It's named after 2 players. One was a fellow named Horatio Karo, C-A-R-O. He was born in England, but he spent most of his chess career in Berlin, Germany. And the other player was an Austrian by the name of Marcus Kahn, K-A-N-N. And he was the first one. Marcus Kahn was the first one to analyze this. And years later, they're both 19th century players. Horatio Karo analyzed what Marcus Kahn had analyzed and published it in a magazine titled Bruderschaft, a German magazine, which came out in 1886. So the analysis goes back to 1886, and the whole world knows this defense, C6 to E4, as the Karo Khan. Both players' names are attached to this defense. So it's a good, solid defense. Jose Capablanca, the 3rd world champion, contributed a lot to the theory of the Karo Khan when after he won the world championship in 1921, and Mikhail Botvinnik, another world champion later, also played it in his world championship in 1958. Okay, so what did Carissa do in response to
D4.
C6?
So completely taking over the center.
Okay. Now, in response to D4, Irina continues with D5, which is the way to continue after playing C6.
Right.
Okay, so now what happens? What does Carissa do now on move 3?
She pushes E5. This is called the advance variation of the Karo
Okay,
Khan.
right. I've played this. This is something that's no stranger to me because I played the advanced variation, among others, against the Karo Khan. Now, in response to E5, Irina deploys her bishop to F5. Now she's able to do that
Right.
because the diagonal is open for the bishop to be. If she were not to do that immediately, Carissa would have planted her bishop on D3,
right.
which would have
Sure.
stopped the bishop from going to
Yep.
F5. Okay.
Yep.
So what did Carissa do on her 4th move?
Just simple development, knight to F3.
Okay. And development is very important now in the opening here.
Yep.
Yes. Irina now plays on her 4th move. Now she can play E6.
Right.
Now, which now opens up the diagonal for the dark square
other bishop, right.
The other bishop.
Yep.
Okay, Carissa's move 5, what does she do?
Again, just simple development, bishop to E2.
Okay, we see bishop E2 on our screen here.
Yep.
Now, the next move that Irina plays may be construed by some players as a loss of a tempo, loss of time. Remember, she played C6 on move 1,
Right.
and now she's now playing on move 4, C5,
Right.
which she could have actually played on her first move, which would have made the defense a Sicilian defense.
A very different opening.
A different opening,
Yeah.
right, totally. But C6, C5, I say, is certainly a playable move because...
And it's been played a lot. So
yes, it
it's-
is.
it's
Yeah,
not-
exactly.
It's not unusual.
It's a playable move, very playable move. Okay, Carissa's move, what does she do?
She plays, what does she play?
Does
she
she-
castles.
Okay.
She castles, sorry.
Putting her king safely
Yep.
on the king's side. Okay, so Carissa's move, her move 6, is development, is the name of the game is to develop those pieces as quickly as possible. She plays knight on B8 to C6.
Yep.
Knight C6, putting pressure on the pawn on D4, but of course it's adequately defended by the knight on F3 and the queen on D1. So there's the adequate defense. So what does Carissa do now?
So Carissa plays bishop E3, which isn't played that often, but it causes, now there's 2 attackers on that pawn.
Right.
So
Yeah, so there's a threat.
There's
So
a
Carissa
threat.
now has a threat of actually winning the pawn on C5,
Yep.
unless Irina actually either defends that again with some weakening move like B6, which is not good. She just takes the pawn on
Yep.
D4. C takes D4. The C pawn takes the pawn on D4, and Carissa now
Carissa
responds
takes
with.
back with knight takes D4.
Okay, let's see that on our board here. Yep, we see a capture on knight takes D4 by Carissa, and Irina recaptures the knight on D4 with her knight on C6. Knight takes D4 is Irina's move. That was her 8th move. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, Carissa's move.
And
How does she take back that knight?
So she captures with the queen.
Yeah,
So she's developing the queen.
exactly, and which vacates that D1 square for a rook. Yeah. That's why I
Sure,
think taking
right.
with the queen is better than taking with the bishop.
Right.
Because it allows that
So
rook to
either rook could, right.
either rook can go to D1. All right, so after queen takes D4, well, Irina now plays her knight on G8 to E7. Yeah,
Yep.
because she needs to get that knight into play
Right.
as fast as possible.
Possibly it's going to go to C6
With
and
possible
attack the queen.
attack on the queen.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
All right, Carissa's move, what does she do?
Queen to A4 check.
Okay, do we see a check here? Yep, we see queen A4 check on the king. Now we've got to block the check here.
Right.
Because the king cannot move.
Right.
So Irina now plays the knight on E7 to C6, blocking the check from the queen, and that was her 10th move. Okay, it is now Carissa's 11th move. What does she do?
So she plays C4.
Okay, attacking the pawn on D5.
Right.
Okay, but of course it's defended by there's a queen defending the pawn on D5. The pawn on E6 defends the pawn on D5. Okay, but what does? Okay, and here's actually I think we reviewed this game before
Right.
the program, And we agreed that actually, and I think you said the computer also agreed.
Well, the annotator on chess.com, Yuri Krikun.
Yuri Krikun, who analyzed this game?
Yeah,
he questioned the Arena's next move?
Yeah, because, this is, why don't we show her next move?
Okay, here's what she did. She actually took the pawn on c4. She captured that pawn. The annotator.
So he pointed out that this is going to open up the position, and the fact that Arena's behind in development is typically a bad idea to open it up when you're behind in development.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because actually White is ahead of development because of the piece deployment.
Right. She's, Carissa's one move away from connecting her rooks. Serena's got like 3 moves to connect her rooks.
So the annotator, he doesn't.
Yeah, he didn't like that move.
He didn't like that move at all.
Didn't like that move.
Okay. All right. So what does Carissa just recapture the pawn
with the queen?
C4. Queen takes C4.
Yep.
We see it there. Queen takes C4 on the 12th move. All right. Arena's move, 12th move, she plays the bishop to E7. Okay. All right, that's her move. That's the only square that bishop can go to because all the other squares are controlled by White. All right. It is now Carissa's 13th move. What does she do?
So she plays knight C3, developing her final piece. Now she's connected her rooks.
Right.
She's pretty much finished development.
All right. This allows now Arena to castle.
Yep.
Yeah. Again, Carissa was able to castle early on our 6th move, but it took actually Arena, 13 moves to be able to put her king in a safe place. And she does it on the 13th move here. Okay. Now what is Black's threat? After castling, does Black actually, when you look at the board, if the viewers look at it, we see actually something undefended here that the Black is trying to do.
So this pawn's undefended.
Ooh, yes.
She really couldn't take it a move earlier, but we're not going to get into why.
No. But now there's a threat of winning that pawn.
Definitely a threat of winning that pawn. So Carissa plays F4 to defend it.
Okay.
And start advancing on the king side.
And by the way, is there also, before we present, we'll present Arena's reply before, is there a threat that White now has, that Carissa now has, by defending the pawn on E5?
Right, so the big threat is she's threatening to put a pawn here attacking the bishop.
Drive the bishop back to G6.
G6, and then
advance the pawn here.
Advance the pawn, it's going to be trapped.
This bishop will be lost.
Right.
So it is very important that there be an escape square for that bishop to come under attack.
Yep.
So this is why Irina Krush on her 14th move played H6, allowing an escape square for that bishop to H7 if that bishop ever came under attack.
Right.
But it's not going to come under attack because she has an escape square.
Right. So now, as you said earlier, moving the queen out allows a rook on F to D1 to come to this square.
Okay. Queen under attack.
Attacking the opponent's queen.
Okay. The queen has to move.
Yep.
And the queen has very limited squares to move to. Okay. And what Arena chooses is probably the best square to go to among the squares given to her. She's certainly not going to go to E8 and hem in this rook over here.
Right.
So she chooses Queen A5, which is her best square for the queen to come out to. All right, that was her 15th move. It's now Carissa's move. What does she do?
Rook to D7, which is always nice to get a rook down in the positions. Now threatening this pawn here, attacking the bishop.
Yeah, in fact, it's always
to bring the other rook behind.
It's always good to put a rook on the seventh
rank. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, there's I forget who was the one who came up with the term. If you're able to put 2 rooks on the 7th the 7th rank, you know what they the pigs?
Wild pigs.
Pigs.
Yeah.
Wild pigs. I don't know who coined that term.
Destroying the position, yeah?
Yes, but if you could put 1 rook on the 7th, that's good. But if you could put 2 rooks on the 7th rank, that's even better.
Yep.
But here is now Carissa. With the rook on the 7th rank, she's putting pressure on, again, the bishop is under attack, but of course it's defended by the knight on C6.
Yeah.
But look what's undefended here on B7, this pawn. So what is Arena going to do in response to Carissa's move of rook d7? Well, what she does, this rook on f8, she moves over to c8, putting the rook on the same file as the queen, White's queen. Yep. So there's danger here. There's danger.
So Carissa Gets her queen off of there, queen to b5.
Right. She doesn't want to, Carissa does not want her queen to be on a file subject to a possible attack, especially where there's a possibility of actually moving that knight with a capture and exposing the queens with that attack. So Carissa actually offers now
The trade of queens.
the trade of queens with queen to b5 on her 17th move. Well, Irina decides, there's too much pressure being put on this bishop with the rook that has to be defended by the knight to protect it.
Right.
So Irina now plays her bishop to b4. Now, doesn't she have a threat? What is now Irina's threat?
Threatening to win a pawn.
Yes, she's got a double attack on the knight on c3.
So
Carissa does what?
Carissa defends the knight, rook to c1.
Okay, so she defends it. Here is what Irina does. She says, okay, we're going to do some exchanges here.
Right, so she wants to simplify.
Simplify the position. Bishop takes the knight on c3. Okay, to which
Carissa plays rook takes c3. So now Carissa has the advantage of the two bishops.
She does have the bishop pair, right, exactly. And we see the rook on c3 after the capture. Okay, at this point, Irina decides, okay, we're gonna trade queens. So she plays queen takes b5. The queens are exchanged here, and of course, Carissa
plays bishop takes b5.
Okay, bishop takes b5. That was her 20th move. So in this position, we see Carissa with a double attack on the knight on c6. Right. But of course it's defended by the pawn on b7 right now, and the rook. But the big problem is this undefended pawn on b7, which the rook on d7 is attacking. Right. Okay, so what now? Here's where Irina decides I got to put more defense of this knight over here. She decides instead of actually coming in and defending this pawn, possibly with the rook over here, this rook over here, rook a to b8, she decided, okay, we'll just come here because this could be dangerous to take that pawn, especially with this bishop on this diagonal.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. So with the bishop on e4, here is Carissa's next move, which is a very interesting
Slightly
move.
mysterious, yeah. Bishop to f1, and we were thinking that maybe she's just planning to
play g3 and try to.
We are getting the word to move
along
quick.
Okay, we'll move it right along after bishop f1.
So here comes the key move.
Here is the key move. This is the move that turns the tables on this game entirely. Here is where Irina plays knight to b4. Attacks the pawn.
Attacks the pawn, and you were thinking she probably intended to put it on
over
d5.
here, d5 with an attack on the rook and the bishop. Yes. So this is a blunder.
Right. Okay. So if you're watching at home in YouTube or whatever, you could pause it here and see if you can find the winning move. There's really like two winning moves here. Yeah. One much better than the other, and Carissa finds it. Carissa finds the best way to do it. She takes on c8 first, check.
Check, which forces,
the exchange of rooks.
Now rook has to take back. Rook takes c8. Yep. Okay. Now, do we have time?
No. Well,
not time.
No, so
here is the winning move.
Rook to d4.
Okay. And
so forking the knight and the bishop. So one of them is going to be lost.
Right. And this is where Irina Krush resigns.
Irina resigns.
She had too much respect for her young opponent, 18-year-old opponent, to play on a minor piece down. Yep. And this was actually resignation. Yep. And you have to credit Irina Krush, again, an 8-time U.S. Women's Championship, and again, a great player, both great players. So we hope that our Chess Chat viewers enjoyed the game that Dave and I presented to you.
Well, we probably should say thanks to Mike Camisa, who was ready to fill in for me when I wasn't. It looked like I might not be able to make it. So thanks to Mike.
Absolutely. So we hope that you'll come back for our next edition of Chess Chat. We have a very interesting program about the World Championship, at our next edition of Chess Chat. Stay tuned for that very interesting episode next time on Chess Chat.